occupations that will benefit tremendously from having multiple players and or NPCs, working in tandem together. So to use mining, as an example, mining is not an occupation that's completely safe. These big asteroids that you're going to be, injecting, megawatts of energy into, they contain volatile materials. They contain, compressed gases. There are a number of ways by which you can wind up, blowing these things apart as opposed to just extracting the valuable materials that you actually want to get. And so the first thing when you actually go into an asteroid field that you'd wind up doing is you'd have a dedicated scanning operator, and his entire purpose is to basically help you figure out in this vast field of thousands of asteroids which ones have a component, constitution that's attractive given what you're actually after, given what the prices in that system, warrant you spending your time trying to extract. So you've got a scanning operator. You've obviously got the beam operators, which are going to be the guys in the ship that are actually directing these mining lasers that are injecting, these injecting these beams of energy into these asteroids in order to extract fragments that a cargo loading operator would then seek to maneuver within the ship. And the way by which this works for the cargo operator is he's basically got a repulsor and a tractor beams. A tractor as opposed to tractor. They're actually a little bit different in regards to how we use them within the game. So the repulsor beam obviously just pushes something away, and a tractor beam just pulls it towards you. And so if you kind of picture looking out through your cargo hold towards an asteroid, which would be the point of view of your cargo loading operator, he would see each of these fragments as they're being blasted off, and all that he's essentially doing is, based upon the constitution of each little fragment, is he's applying a little force to basically try to maneuver it into your cargo hold or to push it away. The beam operators actually have quite a bit of work to do in regards to monitoring what's going on so that the situation doesn't get too out of control. We've got an exothermic reaction detector that monitors the amount of energy that's being produced. And what that's essentially doing is it's giving you a visual indication of whether or not the amount of energy that you'd expect to see based upon the beam that you're injecting into the asteroid is larger than what you'd expect. And what that would signal is that you're actually starting to generate chain reactions with some of these materials, and that becomes very dangerous because if you've got something of sufficient that's sufficiently volatile and has a sufficient explosive force, and you actually ignite a chunk of it, again, it's like you can blow this asteroid apart. And so you're constantly monitoring how much excess energy is being produced. You're also monitoring seismic activity. Seismic activity is very important in regards to mining these asteroids because some of these materials, kind of like nitroglycerin, it's like they're not necessarily sensitive to the injection of energy so much as vibration. And so there can be materials on the complete opposite side of an asteroid, and if you're basically shaking, if you're breaking apart, if you're breaking fragments of sufficient size, you're causing little microtremors to emanate back and forth through these asteroids. And so the point is that the mining beam operators are monitoring the beams that are being injected to ensure that you're not going to blow the thing apart. The pilot is constantly rotating around the asteroid to find optimal locations. The scanning beam operator is basically identifying which asteroids are most attractive. The attractor repulsor, the cargo loading operator, he's basically maneuvering this stuff into your ship. You've got a refinery operator that's basically in charge of the mechanics that allow unrefined ore to be converted into pure materials that you can actually sell back at the major space stations and landing zones. And so this is just a small example of, you could do each one of these jobs yourself, but it would be extraordinarily slow compared to basically having a well-trained group of 5 players.
I mean, the idea is if you're doing it with a group, then you'll be able to harvest more and yield more. And if you're doing it by yourself, it'll just take you longer because you'll kind of have to do all these aspects yourself. And that'll